right, this is my final exam, round 2. I am Kathleen Connors-Brady, and I am going for now my language envelope. So, here we go. Oh, it makes my heart beat so fast. Sentence analysis, ooh, of positives. Okay, I can handle that. Sentence analysis of positives, and I will be presenting my lesson 2 water bottle. Thank you for joining me in lesson today, water bottle. I noticed that you have been doing some amazing work with your sentence analysis. I also noticed in your writing that there's a little bit of some wonky stuff going on with some commas. So I'm thinking this lesson today is going to help you, 1, take your sentence analysis to the next level, and 2, help you with the wonky commas in your writing. Oh, I'm so glad you're ready for it. Let's do this. Oh, the first thing I need to do is write a sentence, because we are going to be talking about positives, at positives. And that is when we have either adjectives or nouns that come out of the traditional sequence we're used to seeing them in a sentence. When we have talked about nouns and adjectives and articles before now, it's always been in the order of article, adjective, noun. The article and the adjective always come before the noun. Well, now we're going to look at when those adjectives or nouns are a little bit wonky in their order and they don't come in that traditional way. So it makes it harder for us to identify them correctly. So let me write a sentence that we could use for this lesson. I need 2 strips because I've got a long sentence. So here is my sentence. The flower, small and beautiful, grew behind the house. Let me also grab my scissors for this. Sometimes I just rip them, but I want it to be nice and fancy. All right, so when we're analyzing any sentence, where do we start? The action. What's the action? Grew. That's an easy place to start. What grew? The flower. What is this flower? It's our subject. That's right. All right. Behind the house. What is that describing? I knew you would recognize that. Prepositional phrase. It's telling us where it grew. That's exactly right. Find my where. Place your where. So, where did it grow? Behind the house. Since that's a little bit big, we'll just put it like that. So we're on the same page. So now we have small and beautiful. That's exactly right. They described the flower, but they didn't come before flower in our sentence. They came after. The flower, small and beautiful. And we used commas to isolate the small and beautiful, the adjectives. These are examples of appositives. So, which or of what kind, the qualities of our flower, they are adjectives, so we want, yep, triangles. We have small and beautiful, which are coming right down to describe flower. Have we now analyzed all aspects of our sentence? Absolutely right, yes we did. And this is telling us exactly how it breaks down grammatically, so we understand the parts of speech and the parts of grammar that these words are. So really, that's exactly right. The adjectives don't change, and there's nothing about the sentence that's super confusing. It's just the location of the adjectives change, and that helps us to identify where to put those commas. So if we want to use our adjectives after the noun, we just need to make sure that we put them with commas so that it doesn't mess up the flow of our sentence. And that is an example of appositives. Oh, good. Oh, you're excited. Awesome. I'm so glad you're excited to do this. So that's that. That's a lesson on appositives. All right. Question time. What lessons are prerequisites for this lesson? I would say any work where the students are doing identification of the article, adjective, noun, so they understand that sequence and that family, and also any sentence analysis work, so that these pieces of the puzzle aren't confusing, so that when I'm explaining how to break down the sentence and how to identify it in this capacity, the students already understand what these pieces mean and how to do it. What would you do if the student did not seem to understand the lesson? We would go back to the drawing board. We would start at those noun basics. I would try to identify more specifically where the misunderstanding occurs, so I would know if it's in those very foundational, first grade lessons on article, adjective, noun, or if it's more complex in the whole analysis and breaking down of the sentences. So once I'm able to figure out what that is, we would go back to the drawing board with that. And just if it's in the sentence analysis, we would just start with some basic sentence analysis, subject, verb, adjective, subject, verb, preposition, just some basics so that they feel more comfortable with the material. What are the points of interest for this lesson? Oh, sentence analysis. Let's keep it real. I would say the use of this material is a point of interest. Also trying to connect the dots between understanding the grammar and then how that translates into their writing. I could see for many of my students who fancy themselves authors already, that would definitely be a point of interest, because anytime they're able to really improve their writing, that's where they want to show their skills and their strengths. But also using this material is really fun. There's a lot of moving pieces to it, and so for the kids that like the more complex work, the material with a million pieces, this would definitely appeal to them. Control of error. The control of error for this work is, I would say, having to identify all the parts of the sentence. If you have something left that's not identified, then you know you've done something incorrectly. So while maybe the identification you would need adult support for, or could be a little bit vague for some, just making sure that each piece is identified is a huge piece of the puzzle. Because also when you stop and do that thoughtfully, that is your control of error, because you usually are able to identify it correctly. You have to see how it fits together. And when you start with grew, when you start with that action, that verb, and you know where to begin this work, then it's kind of easy to watch things stem from that. It makes sense how things grow from there. So starting with the verb is definitely control of error, and then making sure all the pieces are identified is also another good control of error. What would the students do after this lesson is over? I would have them do more work with this. In this lesson, identified the appositive with adjectives, and then I would also have them identify the appositive with nouns. So that would be, the noun identification would be the very next step for me, and then just continuing to take sentence analysis deeper and more complex would be what the students are doing after this. So there we go, Mary. Can't tell you how good it feels to say, I finished my grammar lesson. Or my language lesson for my final exam. So hopefully that's everything you're looking for. Check you later.